All right, hi guys. We are going to do lesson 1.3 today. Actually, first, why don't you pull out your Chromebooks and do the 1.2 warm up on Google Classroom, just like last year in that routine when you get into class. Do the warm up first. I know that this sucks that I've been gone for 3 class days in a row. I've never ever done that, especially so early in the year when I should be establishing routines. So I'm gonna apologize, and then I'm gonna just move on, and we are going to learn. So if you pause this and you did the warm up, then we should be in good shape and we can start. This is on midpoints, and that's what we're going to be doing today, is finding midpoints of a segment. This PowerPoint, this should go a lot faster than the last one because the first part and the last part we're kind of skipping for now. And we'll go over some other things with it when I'm back. But for now, we're just going to get the bulk of it. So we're going to find the midpoint of a segment, and we're going to, well, actually, that's all we're going to do. So the vocab is midpoint and segment bisector. Midpoint. All that is if you have 2 points, it is the point that's exactly in the middle. Okay? So this side and this side are the same length. They're congruent. Okay? That is also a segment bisector. Okay? So the segment bisector is a point or a line. We'll learn more about that in future lessons, but that divides it exactly in half. Okay. This part we're skipping a little bit because it's actually pretty much common sense. It's saying if you have a point on a number line, like say this is 4 and this is 8, and it wants you to find the midpoint. Well, you guys know that you're just averaging those numbers to find the midpoint. You should be able to look at it and say, hey, the midpoint would then be 6. Okay, because 6 is equal distance from 4 as it is from 8. And that's what this formula is showing, but you don't need to worry about it. I'm not even having you do those problems because I think they're a little bit below what we're learning. So we're moving on. And we're moving on. I will get there. Okay, so here is the formula that's in your notes. And I don't really like this color. This is if you're given 2 points. So you have an x1, y1 and an x2, y2. And what you're finding is the middle of that point in wherever they're at. So what this essentially is you're finding the average of your x's and the average of your y's. Okay, and the formula just looks like x1 plus x2, and then you divide it by 2, and that's your x coordinate of your midpoint, and then you average the y's, and that's your y coordinate of your midpoint. So we'll put some of this into action. So it says find the coordinates of M, the midpoint of GH, for G and H, and I'm going to draw it out because it's geometry and that's what makes me be able to do it. And once you've drawn a few of these out, you might not have to draw all of them out, but it gets a little bit trickier here later on. So, all right, so we're looking for M, the midpoint, which is exactly in between. Okay, so let's use the midpoint formula, which is to find your x coordinate, you're going to add up your x's and divide by 2 because that's just finding the average. So it doesn't matter which order you do them in, but I have 8 plus a negative 14, which is negative 6, divide by 2, which is negative 3. So M is going to be negative 3, comma, ooh, that's a rough 3. And then we'll do the same thing with our y's. We will add them and divide by 2. So we have a negative 6 plus 12, which is a positive 6, divided by 2, which is a positive 3. So your midpoint of that line segment GH is going to be negative 3, 3. Now, if you wanted to draw these out on a coordinate plane, you sure could. And then if you look at where negative 3, 3 is, it will look, as long as you drew it out correctly, it will look like the very middle of the line because it is equidistant from either of the endpoints. Okay, so I'm going to let you do this, so go ahead and pause it. Okay, and then I will just do it quickly here on the side. So I'm going to add up my x's. Well, negative 2 plus negative 8 is negative 10. Divide by 2, that would be a negative 5. And then I'll add my 3 and my negative 9, which gives me a negative 6. Divide by 2 is negative 3. So you should have gotten B for the answer. Good job if you did it. Okay, so this is where I really think drawing it out helps, because in this case, it gives you the midpoint and it gives you one endpoint and you have to find the other endpoint. Now, the book does this algebraically. I will do that with you later if you so wish to learn the algebra way. However, in my experience, most students do not care to do that because the way I show you is a little bit faster. So I'm going to, and it doesn't involve algebra. So I'm going to draw this out. It says find the coordinates of D if E is the midpoint. So this is E. And it's negative 6, 4. And this is D. And this is F. And it says F has the coordinates negative 5, negative 3. Now the reason that we draw this out, or I recommend doing that, is so that you know which endpoint is missing, okay? So we know that the midpoint is equidistant from either endpoint. So I like to start at the one endpoint that's known and look at the x values and say, how much does it take? What do I have to do to negative 5 to make it negative 6? What do I do? Do I add, subtract? What do I got to do? Well, I have to subtract 1 to get to negative 6. So if negative 6 is exactly that far away from negative 5, on this side to go here, we would have to subtract another 1. Whoops, that got really wonky. Okay. So negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. Then we'll look at the y's separately and do it the same way. So to go from negative 3 to positive 4, I'm adding 7. To go from positive 4 and I add another 7, it looks like I should have 11. So my answer is what I filled in there. So D is going to equal negative 7, 11. Now, if you're unsure if you're doing that correctly, go ahead and use the midpoint formula using your endpoint that you came up with and the endpoint that was given, and see if you can kind of quickly come up with the midpoint that they gave. So I'd say negative 7 plus negative 5 is negative 12, divided by 2 is negative 6. I'd say 11 plus negative 3 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So I know I did it correctly. But this way is kind of a linear way that doesn't involve algebra for you to be able to come up with that endpoint pretty, I know it's pretty quick, but I guess if you're a visual person, this way works really well. So try it this way. And then if you are struggling, I can go over the algebra, but it's a little bit more confusing. So okay, so go ahead and do this one. I can even draw it out for you, and then you might want to pause it. So it says find the coordinates of R. So we have RS. It gives us S as -1, 5. And it gives us N, which is the midpoint, because it tells us it is, of 8, -3. This is okay. Find your points for R. Okay, hopefully you paused it, and now I'm going to go ahead and do it. To get from -1 to 8, I must add 9. So add 9 to this 8, and I should get 17. From 5 to -3, I have to subtract 8. So if I subtract 8 again, I get -11. So your answer should have been D. Here, we're going to use a little bit of concept of algebra to help us figure this out. So it says that Q is the midpoint, okay? So we know midpoint means that this length is equal to this length. It's divided exactly in 2. So it wants the measure of the whole thing. Well, we can figure this out because we have all our unknowns are known in an algebraic fashion. So we have 2 of these 6 minus 3x's. So you can do this a couple different ways. You can say this is 6 minus 3x, and you can just add them up and say 6x minus 3. Whoops, I lied. It's 6 minus 3x plus 6 minus 3x is equal to 14x plus 2. Oh, you probably heard my cat. Okay, and then you would solve it. You would combine your like terms. So 6 and 6 is 12. -3 and -3 is -6x. And you would go on to solve it, which we will. But I'm also going to show that you can just in your head, if you want, go ahead and multiply this by 2 and come up with that 12x. Why do I keep saying x there? 12 minus 6x right off the bat and set it equal to 14x plus 2. Whatever way your mind is liking it, if you like to have it written out more or if you like to do it quickly. I know I've got both of you guys in my class, the fasters and the stepper outers. So and then we just solve it. So I'm going to add 6x to both sides. So I have 20x on the right side, and I'm going to subtract 2. So I have 10 on the left side, and then I'll divide by 20. So I should get that x equals 1/2. Now great, we found x, but oh wow, that's pretty fun. 1/2. My really big 1/2. Okay, but we have to see what it's asking for. It's asking for the measure of PR. That's the whole thing. Well, the whole thing is 14x plus 2. So you need to plug that 1/2 in for x in the 14x plus 2. So we're just going to, I don't know why my drawing is so messed up today. Plug it in right here. So 14 times 1/2 is 7 plus 2. So your answer is 9. So PR equals 9. Yeah, so it's just setting it up. It should go a lot quicker than I did it because I'm trying to draw on this thing. The trickiest part, the thing that kids mess up is they get X and then they quit, but they're asking for PR, so you have to plug it back in. That's the thing I see most often. And of course you can check it. They have a lot of slides. Okay, so you can go ahead and do this. So just go ahead and pause it and see if you can set it up, and then Then unpause it when you're ready and I will have it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just double this because it tells me that m is the midpoint. So I know that this is also 2a minus 1. So if I just double that, so I have 4a minus 2, and I set it equal to 3a plus 1, and then I solve. So I'm going to subtract 3a, which gives me a on the left side. I'm going to add 2, which gives me 3 on the right side. Not so fast. It's not asking for the value of a, it's asking for the measure of AC. So I have to plug that 3 back in to the measure of AC, which is 3a plus 1. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, and you should have got B for your answer. And that is all we're going to do. I believe your assignment is on page 31. Well, I should double check this. 20 through 36 evens. Well, Mrs. Muslin has it written down, so she'll double check it for you. But do as much as you can. I think you should have time to get through most of it. Some of it will be fast, some of it will be, check your work with each other, make sure you're getting the correct answers. And I will promise to be back tomorrow.